Just a few days on, what are your reflections on Sale in terms of the win and what it sets up this weekend?
We won, they didn't. No, we're obviously not being flippant. We knew it was a very, very tough challenge, but we found a way, which was great. A typical sort of Ospreys performance, really, in a lot of ways. You know, good set piece, tough. Were brave enough to, see some opportunities, ball in hand. Probably a bit guilty of it in the first 15 minutes when the conditions were at their poorest. But we wised up and found a way. So yeah, delighted with the effort. Obviously delighted with the outcome.
What do you tell some of your younger players who perhaps have not played in a packed Gloucester, what it's like to play at Kingsholm on that sort of occasion?
Well, the shed certainly would be vocal. It always is. So that's definitely something, a factor when you go there if you've not experienced that before. I've always had a lovely welcome there. So from that point of view, that's probably something. But we just got to focus down on what we do, and try and shut out the noise and the occasion and carry on doing what we've been doing. And there's a reason that we're in our, we've won a knockout game for the first time, and remember those experiences of that and what got us there, and keep doing the same.
What do you think about the Gloucester side, I suppose, especially since sort of Christmas and how their season has gone?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think I've watched Gloucester a lot, obviously for this game, but also prior to that, and they're always a competitive team. I know George Skimton very well. I coached him when he was England Saxons, and he's a good set piece team, which is the first challenge that you've got to deal with, and also then, as you say, the intensity of the situation that you find yourself in, and you've got an extremely talented set of athletes around the place, from Johnny May and Thornley and Zach Mercer. Obviously, I know well from my Bath days, and obviously played for Montpellier last week, who's a guy who can unlock a game. So there's some very talented individuals on that team that we're going to have to be very mindful of.
A new surface there at Kingsholm, newish surface as well, so that's a quicker surface than perhaps similar to Swansea, but perhaps not what it was like last weekend.
No, completely different, but we train on 4G, so from that point of view, I don't think that's necessarily an issue for us, for sure, because we're used to playing fast. It's just about often on these sort of occasions, it becomes about who delivers on the day, so it's dealing with the pressure and recognising the situations you're in under those sort of conditions. So yeah, we've talked about that, and we've got a good balance of young and old, or experienced. So that this is where your generals will stand up and guide the energy where in the right places.
These sort of occasions, Toby, you work so hard for, in terms of are these the sort of things that really get you up, in terms of all those training you've done the last 3 years? You've been for the Ospreys, a European Cup final, packed house, Anglo-Welsh game. Yeah,
I mean, we talk about what we do, and I said at post game, it's got to make sense, right? You do it all for something. You don't do it, just to do it and exist and run around and stay fit and pick up your paycheck. It's around towards something, a goal and an achievement and a memory and a moment and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, we've I didn't bring it up, actually, to be fair. The players themselves have brought it up and they're excited about it.
I mean, talk about generals. Adam Beard was in here before. How important has he been to you? I mean, he set the tone last week with the line-out stop, and and we saw him afterwards in the huddle. He's very vocal in terms of that. How important is Adam Beard to the Ospreys now and long term? Yeah,
no, very much so. Adam Beard is, one of the people that, obviously I resonated to straight away when I got here. He's and obviously an area of specialism for me, around line-outs and bits and pieces. So there was a natural sort of affinity there. But Beardy's a very passionate guy that cares about the Ospreys and his teammates very well. Prepares exceptionally well, talks exceptionally well. Never gets too flustered. So he's got good balance to what he talks about and what he says, and people listen to him, and that's the most important thing. So yeah, we're very privileged to have him around, and him as one of a number of leaders. You know, he's captained the side before. You know, it's not one person's role to have as much leadership with him. You know, Owen Watkin from a defensive point of view. You know, Morgan Morris has captained the side, Justin Tipperick, Gareth Thomas, Nicky Smith's captained the side. So we've got good leadership on there. You know, and it's good because, you know, we're missing a bit of leadership with Dowie and Jack and bits and pieces. So, you know, that creates a good framework for our younger players just to focus on themselves and do what they have to do.
Just a bit of housekeeping, you indicated perhaps Sam's, Parry, Rhys Davis aren't available this weekend. 6-day turnaround, any other knocks that you're struggling with players? Because obviously it is a 6-day turnaround and it's quite competitive, isn't it?
No, we're okay. Sam's okay. So he looks like he's got through, which is good. He's trained, which is good. Rhys Davis won't make it.
One for me, I got to ask, sorry for that last weekend. Rhys Davis, what's his problem?
Patella tendon, knee.
Season?
Probably.
Yeah, okay, thank you. Thank you, Toby. Good luck on the weekend. Hope it goes well.
Thanks.
Hey, Toby, just going back to Adam Beard, he sort of indicated that once he parked the Sale game, he was straight onto the analysis in terms of Gloucester and their line out. What's he like in the day-to-day stuff like that? Just how important is he in terms of the younger players looking up to him and seeing the example he sets?
Yeah, very good. But I think the big thing about the position of being effectively in charge of line-outs, and particularly, you know, obviously attacking on it, requires a lot of information and a lot of analysis. You know, the term line-out Norse is often used, you know, for line-out coaches. You know, I talk about myself here, Rich Kelly, obviously in our case, me in my previous life, Beardy. You know, Steve Borthwick, for example, for England. You know, they enjoy that little game of chess, and they are that way wired. So as a result, they do a lot of work and taking a lot of information. And you know, you have to be a student of that area of the game because it's very competitive. And I think that the fact that your ability to move on and stay clear in high pressurised moments, and the line out is a very highly pressurised moment for everybody. I think you have to be a certain type of person, and as I said previously, Adam Beard brings a calmness to that, but the calmness is built on experience, of course, but the work that he does prior to any competition and deep-rooted knowledge of how he can adapt and shift in the game, because you never know what people are going to come with. So when you talk about an example to young players, it's the amount of preparation and the diligence and the knowledge that is required to be a good line-out caller, and you know, positionally what that takes. So people can learn a lot from him for sure.
He's not always a player that maybe gets the credit he deserves. I know that's something that sometimes irritates Warren as well, in terms of the Wales setup, is that maybe Adam doesn't get the credit he deserves.
Well, I think that it's an interesting discussion point, because people will talk about high visible moments, right? You know, line break, big tackle, you know, ball goes loose, someone goes the length of the pitch, puts someone in a gap. Those are very visible for a lot of people to see, you know, the general public, your fans to see. What people don't see, unless there's an issue, is 100% line out, good maul attack, good maul defence, stopping them mauling people so much. They do if it's a prevalent, but I can tell you now, if you lose 6 line outs a game, the chances of winning it are very limited, you know, because predominantly your stuff in the red zone often comes off penalty and starts with a line out. So you can work all this way to get up the pitch, and then you've got to deliver in the biggest pressurised moment that matters. So your red zone conversion is massively important, and your line out plays a fundamental part in that. So for me, as coaches they know that, you know, that area of set piece is such an important part of the game. That, along with obviously kick counter, produce the most amount of tries per game, for example. So it's a massive attacking weapon, and it's very difficult to play without one. So I think that the people that know need to know.
You mentioned Owen Watkin being a leader. Obviously, Gloucester have a lot of talent in their midfield, and you know, the test line you didn't get on last week, that promises to be quite a battle, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. I think that Gloucester are a very, very good team. You know, they when at home and they get their tails up and you know the place starts rocking and gets excited. You know, a bit like us last week. You know, it becomes a bit. You know, it becomes more intimidating. But you've got to embrace that challenge. As you know, you've got to embrace it, see it for what it is. To pit yourself against the very best is part of becoming a really good player. So from that point of view, we welcome that challenge, and whoever goes on the pitch, I'm sure will be up to that challenge. And it'll be, as I said, it'll come down to who executes the key moments on the day.
I think you faced a sort of variation of this question last week, so I'll try to change it up a bit. But obviously, for different reasons, there wasn't too many Ospreys in the Six Nations squad. But I suppose when you are the only show in town, how much of a shop window is it this weekend? You know, there's not many Welsh teams. Well, there's only one. There's not many Welsh players playing in the last 8 of Europe. It's a big chance for players to lay down a marker, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, I think that there'll be some people will talk about the differences between the Champions Cup and the Challenge Cup and bits and pieces, and it depends how serious. But knockout games in Europe, once you get to this stage, there's no mugs in either competition. So, and look, from the feedback I've had from international coaches is that the European competition is the closest to international rugby, right? Because you get less preparation time against opponents you don't know. So not even its preparation, you know, you end up probably getting great levels of consistent physicality. I mean, in URC we get quite a lot anyway with the South African boys and the Irish boys anyway. But from that point of view, I think that it provides that sort of realism of what the next level looks like. So I think that yes, it is a shop window in that respect. You know, Morgan Morris versus Zach Mercer is an interesting battle, right? Because, you know, two players that influence the game. So it'll be interesting, you know, that's an interesting matchup, for example. But I think that all players can do is control their own performance the best they can. And as I said previously, the step up for what people want in the next level is often determined by their own philosophy of what they want in a player and a team. So, you know, sometimes that fits, sometimes that doesn't. All I know is that I'm pretty certain I know what the Osprey players will give, and whether that's good enough, you know, depends on that next level stage is determined by somebody else.
Best of luck on Friday, Toby.
Cheers, thank you.
Hi Toby.
Hello, Rich.
After Gloucester had such a real poor start to the season, they picked up really as they started their European campaign, and very much similar to the Ospreys, you know, it's kind of galvanised their season a bit now. So is it a case, this one-off game now, where it's a case of both teams going to put it all out on the line, and he who gets puts most in gets most out, I guess?
No, I don't. Well, there's always going to be a look. We're talking about knockout rugby, quarterfinals of Europe. There's going to be no lack of effort and intensity for sure on both sides. You saw that doesn't matter who takes the pitch, you know, your first team, your second team, people missing, we've all got people missing, but the people out there will go absolutely to the max. Then it comes down to, can you do what you're trying to do, prevent them doing what they want to do, and how accurate you can be. So when it gets to knockout rugby, often it's about simplicity and being accurate, because you know that the effort's going to be a given. Sometimes people have got greater physicality than you, sometimes they haven't. Anyone that plays La Rochelle, for example, will know what physicality looks like, but there's a reason they get one. But when you play against, say, someone, you know, like the Stormers, they play the game differently. What's great about this game is there's more than one way, but there's your way, and can you do your way better than them doing their way? So again, it comes down to the execution and accuracy on the day.
I was going to say, last weekend as well, you had a few real good tries, well made. You could see who's come off the training pitch. This weekend now, you come into play a slightly different side. Do you change your sort of mentality against Gloucester the way you played against Sale? No. You're
obviously respectful of what they bring, and you know, we call it we refer, as a lot of people do, the 80-20 rule. We spend 80% of the time on ourselves and 20% respecting the opposition. So, you know, sometimes those things have big moments, sometimes they don't. But I know if it's the other way around, you spend 80% on the opposition, you're probably going to come up short. And also, as I said, going back to the situation and the occasion, you're going to rely on not what you did this week, what you've done for the last 8 months. So it's making sure that, you know, you're good at what you need to be good at.
And do you need to say kind of calm players down? There's a lot of excitement really probably in the camp, or do you just kind of let them embrace that on the pitch?
It's different for different people. I can't control it. I can, you know, try and manage that a little bit if I feel it's needed. I've not felt that to be needed. Often it's around reinforcement of confidence, supporting people, making sure there's good clarity. You know, players manage their own mindset, and normally what happens is once the first 5 minutes are over, we're back to normal. So, you know, I think that the first 5 minutes are often where those things are important, but outside of that, then it comes down to, right, let's get down to it.
And starting quick is obviously going to be a big point really this weekend, I feel. How much will you be looking to those senior players really to guide through that opening stage of the match?
You just got to trust people to do their job. You know, you get an air of confidence of leadership from these players, but it's a misnomer that all of a sudden, you know, that Adam Beard and Justin Tipper are going to start doing other people's jobs. They're not. They're just going to do their job really well and encourage and support other people doing theirs. So you're just do your job really well and do it every single time. That's the formula. The difficult part is there's 15 people on the other side that are trying to stop you. So, but that's just what the game's all about.